Hey, sports fans, it's world champion handicapper Mike North. Punch this number in your phone right now. If you're driving, pull over. 1-800-808-3419. 1-800-808-3419 for a free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country, VegasScoresAndOdds.com. It's the only site you'll ever need with expert handicappers like John Anthony, Denny Macklin, Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, yours truly, and many more. Check out the homepage of VegasScoresAndOdds.com for a tote board with your buddy. Follow Vegas Scores and Odds on Twitter and dial up 1-800-808-3419. It's 1-800-808-3419, 1-800-808-3419, or go to VegasScoresAndOdds.com.
What follows is for news and entertainment purposes only. Any use of the forthcoming information in violation of any federal, state, or local law is prohibited. Mike North, you are on fire.
You know anybody else that good?
No.
No, they'll tell you they are. They may think they are, but we're documented every single week. The eye is on us.
That's
and I ain't talking about the eye of CBS, the public eye. The first feeling I got when I won a bet was elation. The worst feeling was when I lost a bet and I wanted to jump off a balcony.
Give me a quick betting tip.
Yeah, do win and don't lose, but usually it doesn't always work out that way. How many times you heard this? I'm going to Vegas. I go, how'd you do? Well, if I lost $4,000, but you go there to have fun. No, you go there to win. And that's what's wrong with people. They have the negative mentality in anything they do, including sports, before they even lay the bet down. So you got to be positive. Vegas Scores and Odds is the landing place that gave me an opportunity to handicap. They let me show what I could do, and there's packages, there's free picks. What does Vegas Scores and Odds do when you perform? They reward you, and they take care of you, and that's why we're ready to do this show.
The Vegas Scores and Odds Advantage with Mike North starts right now. That's right. Vegas Scores and Odds Advantage with Mike North starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and it is Monday. That means we have tons of NFL talk ahead of us. The Chicago Bears a winner at Soldier Field, but it was a kind of a sour-tasting win. We'll get Mike's take on how the Bears performed against the lowly Giants yesterday. And things must be super sour up in Green Bay, where the Packers looked like less than a playoff contender. They were walloped by the 49ers. We'll get Mike's take. Mike, by the way, said that the Vikings were going to win the division, but we'll see if he still feels that way after I share with him what the schedule is for the upcoming games for these two teams. Jerry Jones does not sound happy with his coaching staff. Are we finally going to see a coaching change at the end of the year with the Dallas Cowboys? And over in Detroit, Matt Patricia might already be pointing at other people to try to save his job. Mike will give us the lowdown on what he thinks is the future of Matt Patricia's coaching career in Detroit. We've got that and a lot more to talk about. Let's bring him in now. Mike North, how are you, my friend?
Oh, you sounded full bloom today, Aldo, and everybody in the bar room, Bears bar room. Good to talk to you. Had a 2-2 week with the Vegas Scores and Odds advantage on the Bear Bar Room Network, and we did the first 3-bet play with the Cincinnati Bearcats. We ended up getting the money line play. They win 15-13, getting the total. But we lost the Duke game, and we did lose Cincinnati. That gave out 10.5 points. So it went 2-2. We're now 21-16 for the year. So very happy. Sometimes it's like kissing your sister. But what the heck? I mean, it's better than losing, Aldo. And as far as the Bears are concerned, it's a nice win for them. Gets them towards the 500 mark. They beat up on a team that they were supposed to beat up on. on their way to a 10-3 record by this time or whatever their record is. They were supposed to be heading for the playoffs, but we'll take a win. It gives a little bit of more wind in the sails, and you can't complain about that.
You certainly can't. It did have a bitter taste to it, though, because of all the mistakes. And, starting with the first half, the opening kickoff by Eddie Pinheiro goes out of bounds, and it just is like, oh, here we go again. The offense sputtered. And, if it wasn't for the Giants missing their own field goal attempts, we could have been, in a really big hole. This team, it just feels like it's not well coached in so many aspects. Do you feel the same way?
Well, I look at what should have happened yesterday, and if you look at the third quarter where the Bears outscored the Giants 16-0, you're winning the game at that time 19-7. So you would figure with that rationale that, the rushes would start piling up, you'd throw less passes, you're winning the game basically from the third quarter on, and yet you look and you see pass attempts 41 and run attempts only 26. This guy wants to pass the football. He doesn't want to run the football. I've said this before. He got rid of Jordan Howard because then he would have been expected to hand off the football. You start off with Montgomery on the very first carry that he gets. It was a surprise maybe to the defense, but they open up a nice hole for him. He gets 15 yards. And then the beleaguered rookie gets 12 carries for 7 more. 12 carries for 7 yards. So I'm hearing nonsense. They don't miss last year's runner. I'm not even getting into it anymore. It's not going to help matters any. But when you have an anemic running attack like this and you say you'd rather have this one than the one that got you to 12-4 last year, the one that got you notoriety, the one that helped the quarterback, the one that helped make the team win, I'm done arguing with Bear fans because most of them seem to think that moves they made for this year with the 5-6 record are better than the team they had last year. And last year's team clearly all the way around from quarterback to coaching to line to defensive line is better.
The thing is, Mike, is this offensive line is horrible this year. I haven't seen the line played this badly since the Jay Cutler days. And now we are hearing that the right tackle, Bobby Massey, is going to be out for several weeks. So on the right side of the line, you're going to have Cornelius Lucas, who is a journeyman right tackle. You're going to have Rashad Coward, who was playing defensive line a year ago. And so the holes, and I'm not disputing the fact that David Montgomery has made more than his share of perhaps rookie mistakes.
Yeah, I'm not just picking on him, and I'm with you 100% on this. But Trubisky only got sacked twice.
Mm-hmm.
He had time to throw.
Yes.
Basically. So, and they're basically, before these injuries, like you said, their line's no different that much from last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, Kyle Long had his issues last year. And you know what? And their running attack wasn't all that last year, but it was better than this year. And you know what? Somebody brought up that, Barkley is not playing as well because his line's not as good. The running backs, I guess, can blame the lines now. But then I brought up that Zeke Elliott, before last night's game, has the same line as he had last year, and he's been stinking up the place. So, we can talk about it all we want. All I'm saying is the runner last year was better than the runner this year. That's all I'm saying, and I believe the line last year is basically the same up until yesterday as it was last year, isn't it?
It is with Kyle Long didn't play much.
You would think they made 5 changes the way everybody's talking about the line. It's the same line except for Kyle Long, and he missed time last year, didn't he? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he did indeed miss plenty of time last year. You're absolutely right. I mean, that's one of the reasons it's been so surprising that this offensive line is not playing well, because they've had pretty much continuity, but they've regressed in a major way.
Yeah, but I'll say this. Trubisky, I thought, played good yesterday up to a point. I am disturbed by the fact, the rookie basically had about the same quarterback rating as Trubisky.
Yes.
Trubisky has 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. This guy, Danny Jones, has 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Right.
And only 1 sack. So, you know what? It's just, we got to win. Let's take it. But I jokingly put out a tweet yesterday, Super Bowl, bear down, right after the game, because I know there's Bear fans that think that they're actually going to get some momentum, and maybe they will, but I'm looking at a team that's not going to the playoffs. I announced that after, the Oakland game in London. But if they do, I'll be the happiest guy on earth to say, hey, I was wrong.
Well, Merv agrees with you totally. He's in the chat room, and he says, I miss Jordan Howard, too. Now, let's listen to Mitch Trubisky. Yesterday after the game, he was fair-minded about where he is at and where this team is at. Listen to this.
Happy we won, but it's not good enough, not nearly good enough from this offense, from myself. Can't have the turnovers, got to be better on third down, got to be better in the red zone. So enjoy the win, but quick turnaround this week, obviously, playing on Thursday. So we just got to find ways to get better and improve and quit making mistakes, especially myself.
That's one of my favorite Mitch Trubisky sound bites because it's hyper-realistic. And then this whole club dub thing that there's continuing to do. It worked last year, it was fun last year, but after this dismal record, to have this disco party after the game, it just feels like a poor decision by the coaching staff. What's your opinion on Club Dub?
I don't have a problem with Club Dub. I have a problem with Tariq Cohen telling the fans, we're on our own and, you guys, we don't like the booze and stuff like that. Tariq Cohen, you know what? He's got to grow up. You're going to be criticized your whole life in whatever venue you're in, my friend. So, you know what? Last year you predicted dynasty. You guys were talking about you haven't done anything yet. Now, yesterday, Cohen did rush for 4 yards a carry, so I guess the line must have been good for him. I'm waiting for somebody to say the same thing about Montgomery that fans have been saying about Trubisky. Maybe they made a mistake in the running back situation. Maybe there's somebody else they could have gotten if they didn't want Jordan Howard. So I'm just saying, Tariq Cohen had a pretty average game, but good for him lately. But he's got to get his mind off the rabbit ears because he's a new guy. I've been here. Don't tell fans who've been here 30, 40, 50, 60 years how to act. As long as they stay within the constraints of being classy, which means you can boo. I don't think Bear fans are really that down on this team all that much. I think they're down more on the coaching staff than they are the team and the quarterback more they are on the rest of the team. So I just don't get it. But if he doesn't want to shut up, that's fine. Bottom line is Tariq Cohen, Shaheen, and other guys have to prove they're more than one-hit wonders.
Well, and Adam Shaheen hasn't even had a one-hit. That guy's been a total bust. He's caught a couple of touchdown passes at critical times, but that's been about it. Hey, I got a question regarding next year. As I'm looking at the salary cap issues that this team is facing, Leonard Floyd, the outside linebacker who plays opposite of Khalil Mack, and with all this attention that Khalil Mack is getting double and triple teamed, you would think Leonard Floyd's stats, he would be double digit in sacks, but he's not. And sometimes you go an entire game and rarely hear his name mentioned. He is scheduled to make $13.2 million.
Out.
So if you cut him before June 1st, that's how much money you would save. So you say cut him, right?
You got to cut him. He's not been a big difference maker. You don't hear his name. You go down the list every week and you're looking for the guy. He gets injured every so often. He had one tackle yesterday, okay? And he had a half. I mean, seriously, think about that. One tackle
It's ridiculous.
in a whole football game, and you're already paying another guy, Mack, who played better yesterday. Good to see Mack get a sack. Good to see him get a fumble or cause a fumble.
Right.
Good to see him get 3 tackles. Good to see him. But he's got to have a Halloween party. He's got to have a belated Halloween party for the neighborhood. He stiffed the kids on Halloween, and it's been bad karma ever since for this team. Have a little Halloween party. Let them come to the house. Let them come to the mansion. Let them come dressed up as bears. Let them come dressed up as opponents. I don't care, but you got to put some candy in some bags to get us off this thing.
I love it. I love it. Back to the Jordan Howard thing. Zach Sullivan in the chat room makes a really good point, and it's basically the point you've been making. Shouldn't have let Howard go or be traded, and should still have drafted Montgomery. That would have been a nice 1-2 punch. Jordan Howard and then the young kid David Montgomery.
But we had Tariq Cohen and Howard. There was no reason for it. Here, I'm going to tell you something. Here's what I told everybody yesterday on Twitter. Somebody said, well, running backs are expensive, blah, blah, blah. Here, he's the only really big change they made on offense. And our record shows it. You can't get rid of a load back. He kept the chains moving. Quit looking at yards per carry. Look at how time of possession, moving the chains, getting first downs, breaking tackles. You know, Montgomery, Aldo, I'll say this. I know you like him, but when you have 12 carries for 7 yards, you didn't break one tackle. You broke nothing. And you know what? I want to see him break a couple tackles. I know, and he doesn't really. I think he's down. I think he's saying to himself, "This isn't on me," when really it is. The great runner. Somebody said, "Well, you know what? You can blame a running back for a lot of things." I never blamed Walter Payton for the 1978 Bears. He had 1,300 yards rushing in 14 games. I believe it was. I never blamed him once. And you want to know something, Aldo?
Yeah.
His line sucked.
That's right.
His line sucked. Period.
First several
Good
years.
runners make it, and this line nonsense, it's a bunch of nonsense. If you're a great runner, even if you're a very good runner, you're going to have a run or two at least, even with a bad line, because defenses make mistakes too. And you know what? It hasn't happened for this kid, except the first run. I thought when he had 15 yards on that first run, I go, thank God. We're going to probably get this kid maybe 80, 90 yards today. He gets 7 more yards in 13 carries. That's unacceptable, and I don't believe Jordan Howard ever had a run like that.
Well, I will respectfully disagree with you. I think it's a combination of the offensive line having regressed and the fact that Matt Nagy does not know how to set up the run game. He is so interested, as you said earlier in the show, of throwing the ball. He has no dedication to the run, and you got to pound the ball and let these offensive linemen get their mojo going going forward.
If Trubisky's going to take heat, then Montgomery's got to take heat. People are laying off him, and I don't get it, because you want to know something? Sooner or later, you gotta do something on your own if the boys aren't going to help you. And it's not like they're not trying up front. And just like Trubisky, Spielman says to him, Spielman lit him up yesterday early. Spielman goes, man, he's missed 2 guys underneath. They're wide open. Now, Trubisky woke up eventually, but you know what? Nobody should be excused from this team. Not the line, you're right. Not Nagy, you're right. But Montgomery, right now, this looks like a bust. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you, but you might end up being right
well,
on
I can't wait for his first 1,500-yard season.
You and I are both.
Because you want to know something? Bear fans go to the same restaurant and eat the same bad meal every week, and they don't blame the chef. They don't blame the way. You know, if the service is bad, they blame the chef. If the food tastes bad, that's when you blame the chef. You know what? Running backs, they get paid too, although I know now why running backs are the only position where the pay scale's going down. Because, you know what? But yesterday, we're one of the few teams, if you look up the stats, if anybody's got time, that passed more than ran.
Yeah. And you know,
that's coaching. You're right.
It's Matt Nagy. It's the Matt Nagy problem that this team faces. Do you think there's any chance at all that the Chicago Bears will make a coaching change at the end of the year?
No. And I think Trubisky, like I said last week on the Bar Room, will be the starter next year. He showed me something yesterday again against an inferior team, and boy, are the Giants bad. Holy Toledo. My God.
Yes.
But yet they're in the game with us. Detroit is horrible, right?
Yes.
But they're in the game with us. Think about this.
Exactly.
Detroit and the Giants are 2 of our wins, and they're in the games with us, and we were picked to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. We are the Super Bowl champs of bad teams is what we are.
You know what, my friend? Every so often you pull out a plum.
That's it for me.
I like that.
All right, let's go around the NFL and let's start with that Packers game last night. The 49ers, a 37-8 winner. The Packers were getting 3 points. They needed 30 points to cover. This was so bad. Rodgers had an awful game, throwing for 104 yards, 20 out of 33. The team ran for 117 rushing yards, but it wasn't nearly enough. And the mojo of the game started early Cincinnati. On the very first series, Rodgers was strip sacked, led to a touchdown for the 49ers, and the Packers never had a chance. This was Aaron Rodgers on losing 2 of the last 3 games, and whether he feels there is enough leadership capabilities on the part of the entire team, this is what he said.
I think we have the leadership in this locker room. It kind of surfaced there in some post-game remarks by some of the guys. I'm not going to get into who said what, but definitely encouraging hearing some of those voices. I feel good about our culture, but we got to improve on offense and set the tone a little bit better than we did. Obviously, I fumbled on the first drive. That didn't help. Gave him 7, and we just didn't go on, obviously.
I don't know why this guy is on so many commercials, because he's so boring.
You want to know something? People still think he's the best quarterback in football. He's not even the best quarterback in Packer history. Okay?
That's for sure.
Bart Starr went to 2 Super Bowls, won 4 or 5 championships. Brett Favre was sensational, dynamic. So, I mean, and he has won Super Bowls, so does this guy. Yet people will say he's better than the guy in New England. Oh, by the way, the guy in New England sucks again as he wins, and he's 42 and they got a 10-1 record, but he sucks, right? I mean, I'm hearing this nonsense. The fake media, that's what they are in the NFL, as they are in all walks of life. You know, just picks their moments. They fawn over Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady's career is in trouble. How did Aaron Rodgers do yesterday?
Aaron Rodgers had a terrible, terrible game. That is for sure.
What would happen to Brady today? If he had that game, that type of game, he'd get lit up like a Christmas tree. Yet I don't hear hardly anything about Rodgers' game. I hear people saying they're shocked about it. When does this ever happen? But they don't say, you know what, he's on his way out, or his arm's getting tired, or maybe he's having effects from the injury. You don't hear nothing like that about him, do you?
No, you don't. That's true.
Because the media loves the guy, and they hate New England, because here, I get a kick out of this. Whoever thought this would happen? The San Francisco 49ers used to hold the record for most 10-plus win seasons. You know what that was?
No.
You didn't have to answer it like that. You sound like you're up for murder and I'm a detective, for God's sake.
A glaring light.
Because this is what I do, Aldo. People think me and Aldo just mail it in. We don't mail anything in. Let me tell you, the record was San Francisco with Montana and Young, 16 straight 10-win seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I'd see it broken. It got broken yesterday.
Wow, okay.
By the New England Patriots. 17 straight 10-win seasons. Tom Brady is unequivocally the greatest quarterback who's ever lived, and it's not close. It's not close. And he's done it with 47 different receivers. Montana and Young had Jerry Rice for the whole time. So I don't want to hear it. It's nonsense. Brady is the ultimate, man. The ultimate. They have won 17 straight 10-win seasons. We can't get one. We can't get 2 in a row.
That is a problem in Chicago.
Yeah, slight.
All right,
I think Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay can bounce back. I mean, it's a stinker. It was horrible. But I don't think they're winning anything. I still feel. You talked about Minnesota and their schedule. After watching Green Bay yesterday, I don't care what Minnesota's schedule is. I feel pretty damn good about Minnesota.
All right, let's go at that. Now, both of these teams.
I knew you were going there. I knew it.
Well, we have to. We teased it, and then you just said you didn't care. Both of these teams are tied now.
Take it easy. We won yesterday. Why are you so grumpy?
I'm not grumpy.
Oh, man. All right.
Both of these teams are tied for the division lead, with the Packers holding the edge with the tiebreaker. Because they've won against the Vikings in their first meeting. Now, next week, the Vikings play the Seahawks and the Packers play the Giants. That's not good.
No, that should be a win for the Packers. And the Seahawks, I thought that basically this might be a trap game. They handled Philadelphia well, and I love Russell Wilson. Aldo, I've been telling Aldo about Russell Wilson for 2 years. Basically, a year and a half, 2 years. All of a sudden, some people are going, boy, he's pretty good. He might be MVP. Boy, he's pretty good. He's good. Wow. Aldo and I were on top of Russell Wilson a long time ago. I've been saying, do you remember I used to say I would trade Russell Wilson to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers, but Seattle wouldn't want that. They wouldn't want it because I think Russell Wilson with one Super Bowl, Aldo, is as good as Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and also you couldn't do it because of the salary cap issues. It would make it prohibitive.
Yeah, I know, but if you were going to go one-on-one, what does Rodgers have that that our guy doesn't have in Seattle? Nothing. They both got one Super Bowl, and one guy's running for, right now, winning MVP, and it's not Rodgers, which is amazing when you look at it. But yeah, you know what? The Packers got the Giants, and the Giants are just so stinky.
You're right.
So stinky. So you're right. But there's upsets every week. You never know what's going to happen. But nothing like that. If New York loses to Green Bay, there's got to be wholesale cuts.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, though. I mean, the Packers have lost 2 out of their last 3. They're not looking real good. They've got the Giants, the Redskins, the Bears, the Vikings, and then the Lions. So, they could get upset in 1 or 2 of these upcoming games, but it's more likely that the Vikings are going to be unable to win out against teams like the Seahawks, Lions, Chargers, Packers, and Bears. The Vikings have a slightly tougher schedule.
Wait. Let's go over each one. Okay, who are the Vikings playing first, right? The Seahawks?
The Seahawks, correct.
Okay, that game's not a gimme for either team. Okay, let's say it in the second game, the next game.
It's against the Lions.
That's a win for Minnesota, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, next one.
Chargers for the Vikings.
That's a win for Minnesota again, I think.
It'll be close. I got to see where that game is at.
Yeah, that's true, because guess what? Did you know this, Aldo? Green Bay would be in last place if they played in the AFC West. They've lost, I think, to every AFC West team.
Wow.
Didn't they lose to Oakland?
Yes.
Didn't they lose the Chargers?
Yes.
Okay, and then they go on the West Coast yesterday and they played the 49ers, but I think the AFC West has handled Green Bay this year. I think Green Bay might be a mirage. What do you think? Maybe they got off the hot start, new hot shot coach, Rodgers healthy. But do you think yesterday they were exposed?
I'm with you.
San Francisco looked so good.
I am with you. San Francisco 49ers have shocked me. They are playing outstanding football, much better than I anticipated they were going to play. They've got a great team. And I got to tell you, that George Kittle, who Ryan Pace overlooked and picked Adam Shaheen in the second round instead of George Kittle, who lasted to the 5th round. I mean, that was a huge mistake by the Bears. This is George Kittle talking about his 61-yard touchdown that put the game away.
Oh, my. We've been running that since like week 1, and I have to run it like 2 or 3 times a week. That's like a 50-yard route every single time, so it's pretty. I'm just like, hey, Kyle, like, relax. Like, I'm a tight end. And we finally got a call and run it, so that was pretty fun. But, yeah, I mean, it's just corner post. It's perfect coverage to run it against. Jimmy gave me a perfect ball, and I had to unhitch the trailer to outrun a couple guys.
You had to unhitch the trailer and outrun a couple of guys. Not only is he a great player, but he's a great interview. George Kittle, he should be a Chicago Bear. Ryan Pace, do your job.
Well, again, I knew we were going to get on him because I love this guy. First of all, he's like a wide receiver, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
You can say tight end because he can block and everything else. Now, somebody brought up on Twitter, which is legit, 7 other tight ends were taken ahead of him, okay, in that draft.
Wow.
But O.J. Howard was one of them. Evan Ingram, he's got 48 catches right now. He was one of them. So I understand there were other tight ends and that this guy was bypassed by everybody, all the genius GMs in the National Football League.
Right.
That are like rotten corpses that haven't been put on ice and stink to high heaven. That's what these guys are. They guess like everybody else. Some of them have no eye for talent. How this guy lasted to the 5th round is beyond me. But at least some of those other tight ends, Aldo, and this guy, I had to point this out to him. Because that's what I do. I go deeper. I actually have some facts behind my arguments. I don't go, you're a boomer, or you're older, or you don't know what you're talking about. Man, you're talking to me. That's like talking to Babe Ruth and saying he can't hit, okay? Bottom line is this. Evan Ingram is a good tight end. O.J. Howard's been in the league. Adam Shaheen from Ashland College?
Unbelievable.
Over George Kittle. The other guys at least went to big schools. and competed with the big boys. This guy would have probably, if he played for St. Rita, were they going to draft him? I don't know. I'm telling you, Adam Shaheen, a second-round pick. Forget about passing kiddos. The Bears passed on other big tight ends.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. It was awful.
Unbelievable.
It was a great.
Don't just tell me about kiddos. Why don't we have Evan Ingram?
Yeah.
Why don't we have one of the other tight ends?
With ya.
We went to Ashland College in a second-round pick to take a buster like this guy, and he's. Here's another thing. Big-ass guy. Healthy scratch.
He's got some kind of an ankle issue, they say.
That's a healthy scratch, ladies and gentlemen. Pathetic. He should be cut tomorrow.
Cliff Wilson calls him Adam Shaheen.
Hey, you know what? I'm not going to. Here's what I'm going to say to the kid. You had your moment of glory. You were picked by a bad GM who thinks he can go different, go outside the box, and if it works, he's a genius. And if it doesn't, does he realize how he looks right now?
He looks like
unbelievable.
Zach calls him Herman Munster, which is true too. He's a big.
He's got a McCaskey haircut. He's a corporate guy. He has a part in his hair. I mean, are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness, crazy.
The guy goes to bed in a suit.
Yeah, that's right.
The guy goes to bed with a shirt and tie on. You know what Jerry Reinsdorf told me one time? I said, Jerry, listen, not that this was ever going to happen, but we're out to lunch, and I go, Jerry, if you ever need me to sit in, host one of your shows, I'll put the suit and tie on. You know what he told me? You're not a suit. He told me.
That is so true.
He said it. And I said, okay, that's fine, because really, that's what Adam Shaheen is. He's a suit.
He is going to be a former Bear after the season. I can guarantee you that. The Bears have to move on. There is,
who's going to be a former Bear?
Adam Shaheen. They're going to have to cut this guy at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. He should be now.
Yeah, he should be. You're absolutely right.
You got to send a message. Like you said, clubbed up.
Right.
Patting the players. Pumping your fists. Hi, guys. Being friends with your players. He's still an assistant coach to me right now. Last year when you're winning and everything's working, you're being praised. Look, this guy was coach of the year, so he's coming back. He was coach of the year, and Pace was executive of the year. But you want to know something? Dick Duran was coach of the year one year. And I like Dick Duran, but it didn't turn out well.
No, it didn't.
Let's see them repeat what they did.
Yeah, Chicago is the town of one-year wonders when it comes to those.
Oh my God, yes, they're Lloyd Price. They're Lloyd Price.
Lloyd Price.
Anybody doesn't know? He's got personality. The guy made one or two hit records. That was it.
That was it. Good
Remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, and nobody in the chat room remembers.
Personality. Oh, yeah.
Good news for the Packers. That right tackle, Brian Bulaga, who looked like he had a serious ACL injury. It's only a mild MCL sprain, and so he should be back in a week or two. They're going to need him because Aaron Rodgers looked like he was harassed, and they need to open up some holes for Aaron Jones and the rest of that Packers offense. Now, let's turn our attention.
I still like Minnesota, baby. I'm sticking with Minnesota.
All right. Well, and if they upset the Seahawks, which that game is at Seattle, and that's a tough place to win at. If they upset it, you're going to look like, Nostradamus. What would he call you, Northadamus or something like that?
No, Nostradamus. Yeah. I'll tell you what about San Francisco, too. I needed them to go 2-2 on the odds couple. I was 1-2. I had New England -6. They only won by 4. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you know what? I mean, New England just wins. They run the ball. They stay patient. But I needed San Francisco, and I was worried. I didn't want to have a 1-3 record. Boy, did they get rid of the Green Bay Packers for me. I didn't have a lot of stress last night, to be honest with you.
There you go. Excellent. Now, in that Detroit-Washington game, the Lions failed to cover. They were giving away 4 points. They're a loser, 19-16. Their quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, talked after the game. He threw 3 interceptions, and he was asked, why is this team losing?
So we had some penalties again today. We've talked about cleaning those up. Didn't get that done. Turned the ball over 4 times. It's hard to win in this league doing that. And it just comes down to not making the plays at the end of the game. And that's kind of been a common thing over these last few weeks. You just got to find a way to make them. At the end of the day, we have the confidence that we're going to go make them, and we just didn't do it.
This team, Mike, they bring in Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator for Belichick over at New England for a number of years. Prior to that, they brought in one of the administrative guys from New England to be their general manager. So they've been trying to rebuild in the shadow of the New England Patriots. It's not going well. Do you think Matt Patricia is going to be coaching this team next season?
Absolutely deserves to. They were doing good till Stafford got hurt. I mean, if you lose Aaron Rodgers, look at Green Bay. He got hurt, and that started their descent. I just don't think you can judge Patricia. A lot of his game planning is based on having one of the best quarterbacks in football. And there's a good argument to be made, Aldo, that Stafford was having an MVP type year. They won early, but now the Bears catch him at a good time on Thanksgiving, which is going to be great without having him around, because I think they would have beaten the Bears if Stafford had been in, and I still would think they'd beat the Bears on Thanksgiving if Stafford's in, because he's just a better quarterback, and I think he had things going. But when you lose your quarterback and the leader of your team, and you don't have a lot of cap room, and part of the reason is because Matthew Stafford's not as smart as Tom Brady or Brett Favre. He hogged all the money for himself, and now they can't go out and get players, and he still performs. But if you had better players around him, it would help everybody else. So I think Patricia will be back.
Here's the problem, though, Mike, is that this defense is among the worst in the NFL, and Matt Patricia was brought in as a defensive coordinator. They are among the worst rush defenses. They are among the worst pass defenses. They just can't they can't stop teams. And so when you are brought in, like Matt Nagy was an offensive coordinator, supposedly an offensive specialist. Bears can't score points. Matt Patricia, defensive specialist. The Lions can't stop teams. That's the issue, and why I think his job is in danger. Although I'm kind of with you. I think he'll be back for a third year.
Yeah, he lost his quarterback. I'm with you about one thing, though. God, are we agreeing a lot today? I'm starting to worry. Somebody call the ambulance? Anyway, no, I'm just going to say, we're having a nice discussion because the Bears won. We're having a nice discussion because we're buddies, and we're actually talking some strategy. Here's my deal. When you lose Matthew Stafford, to me, that's the end of the season for Detroit. The defense will get better. They got to get more players. There's no doubt. But Detroit's been bad for 50 years. So, and changing coaches year after every other year is not. I mean, I remember when they brought in Bobby Ross from Georgia Tech, for God's sake, a college coach. So I'd like to see him stick around. I believe that he could turn it around, but I want everybody to remember something. Aldo brought it up. He was the defensive coordinator of New England, which means he got Belichick coffee, period. Period.
Yep.
Being attached to Belichick got him and Mike Vrabel their jobs and success, and they deserve it. I stick with them, but I'll also turn the page on this and say Nagy was never the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs. It was Andy Reid. Period. So they're both the same. One on offense, one on defense. They got coffee for the real coordinators of their football team. Right?
Yeah, I'm with you.
All I ever heard was Andy Reid. What an offensive coordinator. What a quarterback coach. What a head coach. And then Nagy all of a sudden was responsible? I don't think so.
I am so with you. I think you are absolutely right. I think Andy Reid loved Matt Nagy because he brewed a good cup of coffee.
Sure, same thing with Patricia. Yes. Listen, can I tell you who I think the Bears should get as the next head coach?
Yeah, please.
And I know I'll get beat up for it, maybe.
Uh-oh, it's not going to be Cody Parkey, is it?
No, it's not Parkey, but God bless. Because you know what? I'm going to tell you something again. When Pinero kicked that ball out of bounds, I kept thinking Parkey's at home. Parkey's at home.
That's right.
I
Gloating.
mean, my God. I mean, to kick the ball down the middle of the field, for God's sake.
Yeah,
That's
and-
all I want you to do, and make a field goal. Dear Lord. But guess what? Pinero wasn't the worst kicker on the field yesterday, was he?
No,
It was the New York Giant kicker,
right,
wasn't it?
Exactly. You're right.
That guy was horrible. That guy, did he lose in the kicking competition with the Bears?
That's funny. Yeah, I don't think he was on that list of a dozen kickers that came to training
He
camp.
would have lost.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something. And by the way, that snap was the worst snap of a field goal I've ever seen in the National Football League. It was like the football was trying to pick up the 10-pin. It was hilarious. God.
So who's coaching this team? You said.
See? You got me. I want Josh McDaniel
Josh McDaniel from New
from
England.
the New
huh?
England Patriots.
Well, you know what? I let's ask
And
the
I
people.
know everybody's going to say Brady was the head guy, and Brady. I see the one guy. If Brady is look at, there's no doubt Brady doesn't say anything bad about anybody. He's a good guy. He's got the great life. You know, I mean, maybe not the life that I have, but I hope someday he can live up to certain things. No, I mean, the guy's got it made. Josh McDaniel and Tom Brady are guys. They were running that ball yesterday, Aldo, in a close game in the third and fourth quarter. And they knew that passing wasn't going to work. They knew that, but when Brady needed to hit some passes, he hit some big passes. And by the way, Julian Edelman is one of the great pass receivers of all time. Period.
It's hard to argue with that. That guy is Mr. Clutch.
Yeah, I hear Antonio Brown, Terrell Owens. I hear all these great receivers that caught a lot of balls. Edelman catches them in the big ball games. Period. And Brady knows where he's going to go. And Edelman is a former quarterback, folks.
That's right.
A former quarterback.
That's right. That's right. He is a former
Whatever.
quarterback.
Somebody called. Aldo went down.
I thought you were going to add to that thought, a former
No, I
quarterback.
decided to stop because I ran out of air.
Oh, okay.
Oh, by the way, before we keep going, Elds, because we are America's foremost, and when I say this, I mean this. Ladies and gentlemen, Vegas Scores and Odds. It's the only place you ever need to go. You know, I hear about Smith Barney. I hear about Merrill Lynch. I hear about, Bridgeview Bank. I hear about all these places where you can go make money. I never hear about me.
There you go. I love it.
What about me? I've been making people money for the last 5 years.
That's right.
And what do I got to watch on TV? A bunch of people that are investment concerts that when the big recession hit, nobody knew was coming. Nobody.
That's so true.
The guy with the sleeves wore, who's the guy, that Kramer guy?
The Kramer guy.
Remember that guy with the sleeves rolled up? He's still around.
Mad Money
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, Jim Kramer.
Yeah, the money guy, right? Remember?
Right.
Well, let me tell you something. He was as surprised as anybody.
He was.
Bottom line is, at Vegas Scores and Odds, this is what I've been doing. Now, I'm 10-9 the last 7 days. See, that's what tells you I don't lie. That's why I'm one of the most revered handicappers. You know why? Because if you go with me, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's right here in black and white. But also, the last 7 days in the National Football League, I'm number 1 at 6-3. Okay? In the NFL last 30 days, I'm 27-14 for second place. Denny Macklin, he's 19-4. College basketball all time, I'm second all time at 211-173. So we're getting more customers. We're getting more followers at VSAO Sports. But when I have something up for Vegas Scores and Odds, you can buy an individual package for $25. You can buy a game for $50. You buy a game for $100 and I win and you put down $1,000. What's the hurt? You paid for a guy. You paid to be entertained and to have a good pick. It's no different than if you hire Sinatra for your wedding. That's who you're getting. I'll come walking through your door. So Vegas Scores and Odds with the great handicappers. The free line's 1-866-504-2201. guys like John Anthony, Mike North, Tony Sacco, Denny Macklin, the best in the business. Aldo, back to you.
All right, let's go over. Oh, before we go to the next game,
Yes.
Tom Brady yesterday on Fox Sports, it was asked, there's been speculation that you may not come back to the Patriots because this is the final year of your contract and so forth. And when asked about whether he saw himself moving on from the Patriots, he avoided the response to that. He said, I focus on the now. And so you want Josh McDaniel. What about if Josh McDaniel and Tom Brady came over to the Chicago Bears? Do you think there's even the slightest possibility that could happen? And if it did, you probably would love it, right?
Let me tell you a little story, my friend. You've been with me long enough. You knew exactly what I was doing. Bottom line is this, though. I saw that interview with him yesterday. And by the way, Gronk,
yes.
You're turning into a lily. All right?
Thank you.
What the hell's happened to him?
I know.
What the hell's going on? I know he's not. He's having an orgy cruise or something in December. I don't know. I mean, that's what it is. I'm having a big cruise, and he announces it to every woman in America on Fox, and Fox goes, yeah, it's going to be a learning experience. It sure as hell is. But I'm going to tell you something. What's happened to him, number one? He's wearing a turtleneck, and his hair is, I don't know what. But he's got to get on the football field soon. Brady, I've been saying, is going to miss this guy, but I also know this. If Brady ever left and there was Josh McDaniel somewhere else, they'd be the odds-on favorite. That being said, I don't think he's ever leaving. It's like me wanting to leave where I live now and go back to live at 5793 Ridge with the, in the six flat. With one bathroom.
Yeah.
It's cold. It's cold there. Why would you do that?
I don't know.
It's like basically Tom Brady going, I don't want the private jet. Can you fly me in that World War II plane that last saw any kind of action about a year ago to California? You would never do that.
Never.
Right?
Never.
And coming to the Bears from the New England Patriots, seriously, folks, you go from being Eisenhower in D-Day, okay, to one of the first guys off the boats, to be honest with you. That didn't, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You go from a general to an infantryman. That's what you'd be with the Bears. He'd get killed, Aldo. He knows how to do it. Did you see that line protect him yesterday?
Yeah, I sure did.
That's a great offensive line, man, and their defense and special teams are second to none right now.
Well, and it's funny that you would say that because in New England yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys lose to the Patriots 9-13. The Cowboys did cover because they were
What was that, 9-13?
13-9. Patriots.
Thank you, my friend. I was going to have to. We were going to have a meeting. 9-13. That would be good. Hey, that would be good. I don't want to even talk about the White Sox. Let's just move on, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, my God, I'm sick to my stomach.
The Cowboys were getting 5.5, so they covered, but Jerry Jones was not happy. I don't think he bet on his team. Jerry Jones on the disappointment of his team's performance, and then he was critical of the coaching staff or coaching decisions, and he was pressed about that. Listen to Jerry Jones after the game.
A significant setback for our team. We needed this win. We needed to win against an opponent like this. We haven't had them. And consequently, we're very aware of that. And so we dig a hole that we've got to really have a challenge as we look at the rest of the schedule.
When you look at the mistakes, do you think they outcoached the Cowboys?
Well, again, I really think it speaks for himself.
Wow.
Wow. It's about time. It's about 5 years too late.
How about it?
His biggest mistake of them all has been to try to prove to Jimmy Johnson, okay, who could care less,
Yep.
because his place in history is made,
Yep.
that he could win with a puppet master, or as they call him, the Ginger Clapper, which is unbelievable. What a name. Might be the best name in all sports, the Ginger Clapper.
Yes.
Because he has no idea what, he doesn't know how to handle a clock. He does, after all these years, he looks like he's a deer in headlights. after all these years. He still has the aura of an assistant after all these years. And Troy Aikman lit him up and said, you got to go for the touchdown here. Now, I don't agree with Troy Aikman, but here's the thing. It doesn't matter. He was being lit up by a prominent national announcer, 3-time Super Bowl champ with Dallas, saying, it's 4th and 7, go for it. At 6 minutes left, Aldo, if I would have been in Garrett's shoes, I'm kicking the field goal. I'm telling my defense, put a stop on this guy. We get the ball back with 3 minutes to go, and we still got a shot, and a touchdown wins it. But you know what? Doesn't matter. It didn't work for Garrett. Aikman lit him up. And when the former Dallas Cowboys that are influential with Jerry Jones start lighting you up, then because Jerry Jones has a TV in the box, okay?
Right.
So he's hearing things on the box.
Oh, yeah.
He heard Troy Aikman.
Well, and here's another one for you. In Jason Garrett's radio show, he was asked if he uses any analytics to go over those decision making, and the analytics in a situation like that, the 4th down and 7 with that amount of time, says for you to go for the first down as opposed to kicking the field goal. And Jason Garrett says, no, we don't use any analytics when we make our decisions. And he sounded...
You know what? I like that, though. Can I be honest with you?
Sure.
I like that. I don't think it's bad. Now, wait, what happens if they go for it? They don't make it, okay? And you're still down. You went all that way for nothing, and your team's finished. Because what did Troy Aikman think was going to happen? They had trouble they couldn't score a touchdown. So now against the top defensive, one of the great defensive geniuses in football history, on 4th down, you're going to get 7 yards?
Yeah.
I know you got to be confident in your offense, but that offense wasn't getting the job done. So I will disagree. And you know what? Troy Aikman, though, carries sway. And Jerry Jones is as responsible as anybody, because we all have been saying for years, this is once where all the media's together, don't you think?
I would agree.
National media, local media, Bear media, Raven media, Cincinnati media. We're all in agreement that Jason Garrett's been there too long.
Well, my good friend James Kessel is a big Cowboys fan, has been saying that for years. All right, let's move on now and talk about what happened at the New Orleans Saints game. Now, the Saints did pull out the victory, 34-31. Carolina, by the way, was getting 10 points in that game, so they covered. And
I covered that game for Vegas Scores and Odds. Thank
outstanding. Well,
you know what? I don't know if I'm having a heart attack or just gas when I'm losing a game.
Let's hope
but
it's
then
gas.
when I'm there 15 minutes later, I go, it wasn't a heart attack.
That's hilarious.
Just saying. I love you, my friend.
There was a controversial call in that game. We all know about the pass interference thing that happened in the playoffs that stopped the Saints from potentially going to the Super Bowl. Sean Payton led the whole thing to have those pass interference called be reviewable. Well, in yesterday's game, there was a pass interference challenge by Rivera, the coach of the Panthers, and for only the second time this season, a pass interference was overruled, this time against the Saints, and Mr. Sean Payton was not happy about that. He was asked about it after the game. This is what he said.
Look, I'm not going to get into it on the replay relative to the fouls, the change that took place in the offseason, but sitting in on every one of those meetings, I don't know that it's exactly what we discussed, where we are today with it. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not, but we've got to be able to adjust to it.
Mike, do you think that the NFL probably said, let's give it to Sean Payton, let's overrule that call?
You don't want to say yeah, but my God, if it would happen to me, I'd be saying yeah.
I know, right?
I mean, if it happened to anybody, if you got any brains at all, you're going to be saying, But, the bottom line is, it was a huge play last year. The NFL overreacted. They shouldn't have put the rule in. There's been other times that there should have been overturns. I think that's what Sean Payton's mad about. The unfairness that theirs is the one that's overturned when most of them haven't been overturned is just pathetic. And you know what? I don't like the way the NFL does business. I never have. Whether it comes to domestic abuse, whether it becomes a revenge thing like happened with New England with Bob Kraft and Tom Brady. All of a sudden, Bob Kraft walks into a massage parlor and he's busted, I'm not saying that the NFL coordinated any of this, but there's no love lost between the NFL and certain teams. I mean, even Jerry Jones and the commissioner don't get along, So, and the rules changes and everything else, Aldo.
Yeah.
It's just been, and the replays on college football, it's a great game. They ruin momentum. They're checking for first downs now on replays. That was not the intent.
Yep, I'm with you 100%. There's a much better way to do this, but unfortunately, you got a lot of dunderheads in charge, and they're not
The
getting
rules
it
should
done.
be thrown out.
Yeah. That's the first thing, is that whole rule book needs to be thrown out, and you start with a brand new rule book. And that rule book is about 400 pages long. It should go down to 120 pages or so, because
It's so PC now too, and everybody running everything is more of a liberal bent for the most part. For not everything, but a lot of things. And you're seeing just a weakness in sports now that you never thought. I mean, I saw Dick Butkus on the sidelines, and the greatest individual football player I've ever seen. I mean, that people were actually, grown-ass men were afraid to even play against him. So when I see, and if he would say, like he said a couple weeks ago, he said, I enjoyed knocking the crap out of people. He said years ago, I pretend I'm going to knock somebody's head off. He'd probably be getting ostracized today, and he would have. Some of the hits he made, he would have been penalized. It would have been unbelievable. They would have taken away his violence, just like the NFL took the kickoff return away. Do you realize there's never going to be another Devin Hester?
That's
ever?
right. That's right.
Ever. And do you realize if they changed the rule 10 years ago or 15 years ago, the Bears would have never gone to the Super Bowl, and Devin Hester wouldn't be a Hall of Fame type guy.
I'm with you. All right, let's go over to the Steelers and Bengals. The Steelers were giving away 5.5 points. They're a 16-10 winner, and this Steelers team had to bring in guys off the street. In fact, they brought a Bears running back who had more yards rushing than David Montgomery did yesterday. Kareem White rushed for 40 yards on just 6 carries. But this is Mike Tomlin after the game, just giving kudos to how hard his team fought.
Can't say enough about Deion, Kane, and Kareth White. They didn't make a lot of plays today, but, boy, they put their hand in the pile. And, we don't underestimate that, the difficulty of getting on a moving train and being positive contributors to our efforts. Wasn't perfect today, never will be, but we struck a blow for team today. Football is the ultimate team game, and those men in that locker room, those in helmets and those in active, they all fought together. I'm proud of them. It's a cool thing.
Mike, that sounds like a head coach.
Yeah, and he's taking his share of criticism out there. But I'm going to just tell everybody this. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the reason they're so successful. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for another amazing stat?
Oh, I'm ready, baby.
You're going to go, Mike, I thought, everybody knows Aldo does his homework. All you have to do is listen to these cuts. That takes effort. You know what? There's producers that don't even know how to work levels. This guy is the ultimate producer, executive producer. He busts his tail.
Thank you.
To make sure everything is done right, and we got cuts that we can feed off of. Okay? And let me tell you something. That goes a long way. And that's why I've had more success, because of a guy like Aldo. And you know what? Bears Barroom is doing good. And once again, follow everybody at Bears Barroom. I want people to jump on this. We're really close to the 10,000 mark.
We are.
Which was a goal way back when I joined Aldo, because I think we were about 48, 85 at the time.
Right.
Doesn't matter how long it takes, okay? You get there, and then you build for the next 10,000, and then you build the thing up, and that's what Aldo does. How many shows we got, Aldo?
We have 89, getting close to 100, baby.
And how many shows combined on the network? How many different shows? I know you're going to be doing a show tonight, right?
Yeah, we're doing one tonight. Bears 100 Proof is live here at 8 p.m. And all of these shows come on to the Bears Ballroom Radio Network, which you can get on iTunes, Podbean, you name it. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can download our network shows and listen to Mike North twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. And on Wednesdays, of course, he's got the 3 free picks, so that's must listen to radio. Outstanding stuff. I love working with you, Mike North.
We have a good time, and I'm going to tell everybody this. When we do a show like this, it was designed because what I was going to say earlier is I believe the wagering and entertainment sports talk on ESPN 1000, the Odds Couple, is the best gambling show on radio. That's my opinion, and we're winning. So that even makes it better. But it was from the NFL Handicap Show in 1989 that I did with Parkridge Kenny, who used to appear on The Score.
Amazing.
And Danny Penny. But then it took a hiatus for years when I got on The Score and went to Fox. And now, because once I came back with Bears Ballroom, we were ahead of the curve. We were the first. And when I say the Odds Couple's the best terrestrial radio show, the other thing is the best digital show. The best web show is this show for gambling, because we win. Haven't we been winning for 2 years?
We've been winning for 2 years, and again, for those of you who are just started listening, last year Mike started the season, the NFL season, 18-1-1, one of the most historic runs for handicapper.
Told me? He goes, "How did you become world champion?" I go, "It's easy. I got a call from Vegas. A guy told me I saw something in the paper in Gaming Today, and I didn't even see it." He goes, "You're 18-1-1." He said, "There's nobody alive that's 18-1-1 except you.
Right.
You're the world champion." And you know who's never going to win a world championship? The Cincinnati Bengals. Except I got some breaking news for everybody. Would you like to hear it?
Yes.
Andy Dalton's going to be the starter again. They woke up. Guess what? The guy was throwing 65%. 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, bad football team, rookie head coach. And they're waking up. You know what they're saying? Andy Dalton isn't so bad after all. And when we were talking about, bringing in Andy Dalton for the Bears, I poo-pooed it. And I still do. I think Mitch Trubisky's the right way to still go because he showed improvement yesterday. But I'm happy for Andy Dalton because scapegoats in Cincinnati's a joke because they haven't had a good football program there for 2 decades.
Indeed. Marv Lewis really ruined that franchise in more ways than people realize. Just created a losing culture there. And even though he had some solid talent from year to year, he just could not lead men.
He brought in convicts.
That is true.
He brought in Pac-Man Jones. He brought that Vontae Perfect guy or whatever his name is, Perfect.
Yeah, Perfect.
Whatever his name is, he wants to kill people. He's a Butkus Mold playing today though, and you know what? A lot of these other guys, Chad Owens, remember him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ocho Cinco. I mean, these guys, man, come on. And there was a lot of problems on that team, and he was picking up guys that were, from The Longest Yard. Remember that movie?
I sure do.
This was the real Longest Yard, the Cincinnati Bengals. My God.
All right, regarding those Steelers, next week they played the Cleveland Browns, who were 41-24 winners. Cleveland easily covered. They were giving away 11 points.
Can I say one more thing?
Please do.
When I saw a bear like Doug Buffon walking towards me as a kid, I said, man, there's a God. Or Butkus, there's a God.
Oh, yeah.
If I saw Pac-Man Jones walking toward me, I'd say, I wonder if he's packing. That's the end of the line.
That's why they called him Pac-Man.
My
he was
God.
packing. So again, next week, big game, Mike. We're going to talk about this on Wednesday. Is this Cleveland Browns playing the Steelers? This, of course, after the big helmet fight and all that stuff. And so that's going to be an interesting game. And the Browns are doing well. They got on a winning streak. They're going to play the Steelers, and that could be a deciding factor as to who is going to stay in the playoff hunt. Cleveland and and the Browns. You got an inkling on which team you think is a better team right now, Cleveland Browns or Pittsburgh Steelers?
I just want to say good for the NFL for finding that quarterback, Rudolph. I mean, after all, he got hit over the head with a helmet, which is heavier than a brick, and then he was falsely accused of being a racist. Good for them for finding him $50,000. He deserved it.
Well,
Are you kidding me?
He got benched yesterday, and the backup.
Okay, that's fine. If you're not playing worth a damn. But the guy, Myles Garrett's a piece of crap. If you are called anything, we grew up in the city, folks. Aldo and I grew up in the city. You call us that any kind of name, there's an issue, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. That guy didn't react to it. He waits a week, and then he throws this guy under the bus like that. What a piece of crap. I used to like Myles Garrett. I don't anymore. But let me tell you this. I'm going to move forward because I'm an understanding man. Okay? Baker, I want to take back something I said. It would be called a bad take on Twitter. Some guy says to me the other day, you know, you're not that good on Twitter. I go, kid, I was big before Twitter. Shut up. I'm going to tell you right now.
I love it.
Give me a break, Twitter. Look how popular you are. You're on Twitter. No. You know how you judge popularity, unfortunately? The Bucks, period, and ratings. That's the way it used to be judged. Now you got people hiring people because they got a big handle. And I'm not talking about that handle, okay? Believe me, because I would have never been hired if they were going to go by that. But I'm going to take something back.
Okay.
I said I'd rather have Trubisky than Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it's starting to look
And
the
I
other way.
watched Baker Mayfield the last couple weeks, and I got to take it back. But I'll also say this. I'd rather have Nagy than Freddie Kitchens. I want to tell you what he did yesterday.
Freddie Kitchens is awful.
This is the guy that kissed the ass of the players last year.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Right.
And then got the head coaching job because he got along with Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a guy who yesterday didn't call a bad game until the end.
Mm-hmm.
I had on the odds couple Cleveland minus 10.5. They were winning 28-0. Okay? They almost gave up the spread because they're up 17. And with 4 minutes left, he's got Mayfield throwing. The ball bounces off of Brown's hands into a Miami Dolphins hands. The guy runs it back to the 30. But guess what? As happened this year unfairly, because referees are bad, it was called back because of hands to the face, which it quickly is becoming my least favorite penalty, but I loved it yesterday. They took away an exciting play because they thought somebody hit somebody. I mean, I'm seeing phantom tripping calls and everything else, but this call went my way, and then they ran it in. But Freddie Kitchens isn't a good head coach, and that might hold him back down the line.
I am with you on that. Freddie Kitchens is way in over his head, and when you factor that in, Baker Mayfield might be a better quarterback than you and I thought, because I was with you on that. I was not a fan of Baker Mayfield, but he looked
good yesterday, man. You know what? The guys like Nagy wants to throw the football.
Yeah.
And he was a running backs coach.
I know.
You got Chubb. You got Chubb on that team.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're throwing the football around in the fourth quarter.
All right. And you got Kareem Hunt, a player that you thought the Bears should have gone after.
Them.
Right.
But you know what? They gained 131 yards yesterday.
Right.
But they could have gained 200.
They could have, indeed. You're absolutely right.
But they did. He did call a decent game till the end because the run plays, pass plays 34-32. I'm going to tell you, I think now if this guy coaches better, Cleveland could beat Pittsburgh. I'm just leaning.
That is going to be an interesting game. We'll talk further about that on Wednesday. Let's get to a few other games before we call it a show. The Jets 34-3. What an upset over the Raiders. The Jets were only giving 3.5. I thought that the margin would have been better. But man, these Jets, that's 3 straight wins. And Sam Darnold 3 weeks ago said, that the Jets still had a chance at the playoffs, and everybody was laughing at them. But at 4-7 now that they've won 3 straight games, maybe they can squeeze in there. You never know, right?
You want to know something, though, Aldo? If you're a Jet fan, you're looking up. And you know what? I didn't think Sam Darnold was all that. Then he caught the the mono, and all this other stuff, and he had that happen to him. But he watched film while he was off. He watched the games, which I think helped him. Then I hear he's one of the hardest working guys, and I also hear he's a guy that studies film consistently.
Right.
And you know what? It's hard not to root for a guy like this, and I'm really liking what I see out of him. And, they're not Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. They went to other pastures, and, like I've always said, the grass is always greener on the other side till you get to the other side, because it's good to see Pittsburgh win without this malcontent Antonio Brown. But you know what? Bottom line is, Le'Veon Bell's with the Jets, and I think next year they're a bona fide playoff team if they can get better on the defensive side of the ball.
I'm with you there. I am totally with you there. Tennessee 42, Jacksonville 20. The Titans were only giving 4.5 away. They easily won. Mike, they scored 4 touchdowns within 6 minutes. The game went from 7-3 to 35-3. The Titans an easy winner. And how about this? Ryan Tannehill, who was driven away from Miami because they thought he was a failed first-round draft pick, he now goes over to the Tennessee Titans. He's 4-1 as a starter. Mariota started the season 2-4. When you see a guy like Tannehill turn his career around the way it apparently looks like he's doing with Tennessee, do you think there's any hope at all for Mitch Trubisky?
No, because Tannehill was accomplished coming out of college and played a bunch of games, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
So, the project thing wasn't a big deal. That's why they call him a failure at certain stops. But Jim Plunkett was a failure and ended up going to the Super Bowl, after winning the Heisman Trophy in Stanford. The NFL is littered not only with bums, but also big-time success stories. I'm watching Ryan Fitzpatrick yesterday, and I'm crapping in my pants because he's ready to catch up to the Cleveland Browns. He didn't do it, but he's still a dangerous guy. I mean, I wouldn't mind him for the Bears. I know people are going to look at me like I'm nuts, but, you can do worse. I'm watching some bad quarterbacking. I know that, the teams with the best quarterbacks are usually going to win. But I'm happy for Tennessee. Mariota, to me, he should have a ukulele in his hand leading tours. I just got to be honest with you. When I see him, I used to love him. I love Mariota. And by the way, Jameis Winston, I don't care if Tampa Bay won. He's got 100 turnovers, man, in his career since 2015.
Mike,
you don't win with that.
I got a stat for you. I got a stat for you regarding Jameis Winston.
That was a special stat? You didn't like that one?
I think I can top it.
Oh, my God. Get out of here. Which one is it?
Jameis Winston has a chance to lead the NFL in touchdown passes and interceptions, which would make him the 4th player in NFL history to do it. Can you name any of the 3 players who did it before Jameis Winston, who I predict is we know he's going to lead the league in interceptions, that's for sure.
Oh, he's horrible in the fumbles. 100 since 2015? My God, you can't win that way. You'll win some games, but you cannot win with a quarterback that in 4 years averages 25 turnovers a year.
I hear you. He is a turnover machine.
I thought Mariota was the better quarterback, but to me, he's basically, what was that movie with Nicolas Cage?
Which one?
In Vegas. Honeymoon in Vegas?
Oh, yeah, Honeymoon in Vegas, one of the most depressing movies in the history of movies.
Right. No, not that one. That was Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, you're right. You're talking about
Honeymoon in Vegas with Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yes, with the
James
Elvis.
Caan.
Right.
You know who Mariota is? He's the guy that was driving the cab for Nicolas Cage trying to find James Caan and Sarah Jessica Parker. I don't know what happened to the guy.
How do you remember
that? He left his heart in Hawaii. Right?
Well, and there's speculation that maybe Ryan Pace is going to pursue Marcus Mariota in the offseason and that it will be a battle between Trubisky and Mariota for the 2020 starting quarterback position.
I take Mariota, man. I'm big on Mariota, but he lets me down. I'm a Mariota guy. I am. Maybe a change of scenery. You know what, though? The Bears played good yesterday. Robinson had a big day again. Mm-hmm. The barroom guy that I acknowledge was I wanted Jordy Nelson for 1 year, but that's all you were going to get out of him. And Allen Robinson, you guys were right. He's been tremendous. He did good yesterday, and I think he's a guy that makes Trubisky want to play better. He holds him accountable. So, you know what? I mean, I just think that when you could get a Mariota type, you got to take a look at him.
Yeah.
And maybe that will, and Mariota will help Trubisky. You know? What happened to Chase Daniel and his counseling? I mean, you know. By the way, Jimmy Johnson said yesterday Chase Daniel should be the starter.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you retweeted that too. So that,
I did. I couldn't believe it.
I think, you know, well, we'll talk about that on Wednesday. I want to say who the 3 quarterbacks are who led the league in touchdowns and
I know
interceptions.
who they are.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to go with Pat Sutton. No, I'm going to go with Roman Gabriel.
Oh, close but no cigar.
Okay, hold on. John Brody.
No.
Are they from that era?
Yeah, I think one of them is. Yeah, 2 of them are.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. One played for the Cleveland Browns. Cardiac
One
Kids.
played for the Cleveland Browns. That's got to be. Was that Kosar?
No, Brian Sipe.
Oh, I loved him.
Yeah, and then one played for the Green Bay Packers, and it's not one of the great quarterbacks but it's from that 60s, 70s era.
Steve Bratkowski.
Lynn Dickey. And then,
I liked him. He had the shit. He had the mullet.
Exactly. That's him.
He went to Kansas University. But other than that, I don't have any useless information in my head.
And then the 3rd quarterback is a name that I never would have thought would have been on here. Drew Brees. 43 touchdowns and 19 interceptions, enough to lead the league. He was actually tied that year with somebody else.
That's not bad, though, buddy.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Not a bad list. Now, I wanted to ask you about that Redskins game and controversy that happened with their quarterback not being out in the final play for the victory formation because he's out there taking selfies with the fans.
Do you know that they didn't play Joe Burrow so that guy could start?
Oh, really? Is that right?
Well, no. What happened was, see, Ohio State likes the athlete. They like, the runners and the passers combined.
Right.
Joe Burrow played behind J.T. Barrett, who I think watches football from the stands. I don't know where he's at anymore. And they told him, we're not going to let you compete with Dwayne Haskins. So he left and went to LSU.
Oh, that's right. I remember reading that.
And let me tell you something. If he stayed at Ohio State and started, they would have won a national championship already.
Yep, I'm with you.
But when you play favorites, because clearly this guy Haskins, so I'm watching the game yesterday, and it was painful. They have Case Keenum coming to take the knee.
Right.
I go, where's the guy? The moron didn't even. First of all, he can't throw. He had an under 50% day.
Yes.
He can't throw a 10-yard out. He's horrible.
He's bad.
He can't throw. He can't. If you asked him to throw the ball to you from 20 yards away, I'm telling you, it might be out of your reach. He's got no accuracy. And then the guy's taking a picture with a bunch of fans, and the game's still going on. And they can't find him.
Unbelievable.
I loved it.
Truly unbelievable.
I loved it. Look at this. I'm watching it now on TV. What a moron.
A true moron. All right, and then...
What a numbskull.
Your guy, Russell Wilson, went to Philadelphia and comes out a winner 17-9. And Russell Wilson's stats weren't pretty, but he was a leader. He kept... Almost every drive was a sustained drive, and it was Rashard Penny's 58-yard run early in the 4th quarter that iced the game, and was 17-3 until 20 seconds left when the Eagles scored a consolation touchdown. But those Seattle Seahawks look like a very strong a team to go to Philadelphia and winning under those conditions. And while the score doesn't look like it's dominating, they dominated that game. The Eagles looked awful.
They did. I mean, they really were disappointing. Wentz got hurt again. They're going to look at his hand. He's turned into a paper tiger, if you will.
Yeah.
Big guy, played at a school that was Division II or III. Here we go again. But really looked good his first year. Then he gets hurt, and then Foles leads him to the Super Bowl. I've joked with Aldo that every time Wentz walks into the training facility, there's a huge mural of Wentz holding up of Foles holding the Super Bowl trophy. I mean, that can't be easy. So Peterson looks like, I think Philadelphia, they've never been a favorite franchise of mine, from the uniforms to some of the players. I go back to 1960 when they had Norm Van Brocklin, the Dutchman, Pete Retzlaff, Tommy McDonald, Chuck Bednarik, who knocked Frank Gifford out, all the way to the teams with White and those guys on there, and Randall Cunningham and Buddy Ryan. But this team, I think, is a one-hit wonder. They're sort of like, I never looked at them as a repeater. I never looked at them as being relevant again. I looked at the 85 Bears as running the table for 3 more years, and it didn't happen. I never looked at Philadelphia that way, to be honest with you, Aldo.
Well, and they've proven you correct. I mean, this is an incredibly underperforming team, and I would not at all be surprised if there's some major moves in the offseason because and this Carson Wentz guy, they've put so much money and trust into him, and it just seems like every season he's getting hurt. Like you said, a paper lion.
Tiger.
A paper tiger, exactly. So not good news. The final game that I have is the Bills have now moved to 8-3. They easily destroyed the Broncos 20-3. The Bills were given 3.5. They could have given a lot more. Now the Bills have the best record through 11 games since Jim Kelly's final year in 1996. The Bills are looking like an outstanding team, and kudos to Frank Gore, who has now moved into number 3 in the all-time rushing list. He's about 1,000 yards behind Walter Payton. He might catch him because this guy is like 15 seasons in the NFL, Mike.
The guy's like 48 years old.
Yes, it's unbelievable. He
looks like the guy that used to buy us beer when we were kids.
That's right.
I mean, he doesn't look like he's in his 30s. He looks like he's in his 50s. You know? I mean, I give credit. And they were going to move this franchise to Toronto and all this garbage. And I was praying they wouldn't. That's a cool thing for the city of Buffalo. Pumps in a lot of economy. The players are the big stars in town. Believe me, they're going to be big stars. I've talked to Marv Levy about it numerous times. They were the only game in town. There's no baseball team, no basketball. They have the hockey team, but they're second-class citizens in that town. They really are.
Really
I'm happy for them. By the way, the statement out about this Haskins. This is what we have here at Vegas Scores and Odds, folks. Check them out. We have up-to-date stuff. Interim coach Bill Callahan said he spoke with quarterback Dwayne Haskins about missing the victory formation snap. It was disappointing, which means I was pissed off, Callahan said. I think it's an experience to learn from and mature, which means he's a stupid youngster. And then he said he got caught up in the emotion of the game itself. No, you can't forget you're in a game. And then youthful exuberance got away from him. Yeah, he's 8 years old, and he's fully aware his mind should be on the game now. That's your new guy. Good luck to you.
Unbelievable. It's not like they beat the Patriots. They beat the Lions. Come on. Hey, quickly.
Wait to win. Hey, we beat the Giants.
That's right. I'll take it. Hey,
I hate when that happens.
Hey, let me play Frank Gore's last soundbite here, and then we'll pull the plug on a show. Frank Gore, this is him talking about what it's taken for him to get where he is on the NFL all-time rushing list.
It's been, for me, it was tough to get to here, man, and it wasn't an easy road to get to the NFL, and I've been doubted my whole career, not just in the NFL or college. When I tore my 2 ACLs, a lot of people say, I won't even be here 2 or 3 years, and now, my year 15, still having fun, still making plays, still helping, a team win games, and, I'm blessed.
He is blessed. There is no doubt about that. And fans of his have been blessed too, because he really is a warrior. He is the epitome of what pro football is like, a guy that just keeps going and comes out of nowhere. I remember when Walter Payton said, when he was, he broke the record for all-time rushing yards, and he said this is for the Joe Delaney's and so forth. He could have put a guy like Frank Gore on that list, but Frank Gore now has made it to the top, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, he has. And by the way, I mean, I love a guy because the same thing. I had it said about me in 1992. You'll be back selling hot dogs in a year. If you're a competitor, if you let anything that any business you're in, any type of sport you're in, I don't care if it's volleyball at the local park district, there's always going to be people that are doubting you. You use that. And that's what Frank Gore has done to prove the naysayers wrong. Same as Tom Brady. Nobody gave him a shot. It pisses him off to this day.
Yep.
Same thing with me. It pisses me off to this day. In a good way, though. They take it. You don't take it in a negative way and let it bring you down. And it's happened to everybody. It's happened to Aldo.
Yep.
And you know what? I'm sure, because you work for some big-time places too, Aldo.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just for whatever reasons. And you know what? He got there from Humboldt Park. I got there from Uptown. McDonald's, WBBM for Aldo. Are you kidding me? People don't even know that, right?
That is correct.
And then I got to go open my big mouth.
You are the raging mouth.
I am the raging. By the way, after football season, we start up on the autobiography again. That's going to be fun. But this was a fun show today. It really, really was, because, it was, at least we're off a bare win. And you know what? Maybe you never know what's going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to be a shocker. How you bounce back now for Thanksgiving, right?
Exactly. That is huge. I mean, you've got to go in there and show improvement. Just don't go out there and win dirty against the Lions. Show some improvement so that way we can have some hope for next season.
Yeah, by the way, Wednesday's show, folks, don't miss it. 3 o'clock, all Thanksgiving Day games and everything else.
Awesome. All right, let's play that music.
I love that music.
And remember to go to VegasScoresAndOdds.com. Just stop by their page and take a look around. Take a look at what they offer, and you will see Mike North's names on leaderboard after leaderboard after leaderboard. Right, Mike?
Absolutely, my friend. Love you. Take care, folks.
Okay.